In the headlines for the CBC NewsNight, hoteliers reaping the benefits of a bumper tourism season, even as they raise concern about service levels. After a successful debt for climate swap, government intends to carry out a debt for social swap next year. The Attorney General provides an update on the coming ban on dark tints on motor vehicles.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome to the CBC NewsNight. I'm Wendy Berg with the details. The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is reaping dividends following this year's increase in source markets and visitors to the island's shores. BOD Chairman Javon Griffith says customer service is now critical to taking the industry forward. He was delivering remarks at the BHTA's fourth quarterly general meeting at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. Rachel Agard was there and filed this report.
Barbados welcomed 1.3 million visitors in 2023, and even more are expected this year. This is according to Chairman of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Javon Griffith. Tourism officials are also looking forward to a bumper 2024 winter season. An indication of the increase in numbers will be seen this Saturday at the Grantley Adams International Airport, where 13 flights are scheduled to arrive from the USA alone. That's the highest number ever in one day from that source market.
We here in the BHTA are highly encouraged by the strong performance of Barbados tourism sector so far this year. The industry has continued to achieve significant milestones with impressive gains in visitor arrivals and overall industry growth. The island has continued to record month-on-month growth every month this year, and this is expected to continue.
But Mr. Griffith warns superior customer service needs to be paramount, especially in a service business. And he emphasizes the need to teach customer service through the implementation of a broad-based customer service training program with periodic testing starting in the tourism sector.
Today, I am making a clarion call to all stakeholders. The major boom that we are now experiencing in our industry with many first-time visitors to our shores. If we wish to see them again and again, we have to get our customer service right. From the time they land at the Grantley Adams International Airport or sail into the Bridgetown port until the moment they depart, visitors to these shores do not have to tolerate rude, unfriendly, and surly service. They can simply choose not to come back, which will be to our detriment in the future. I know this improvement cannot occur overnight, but it is a process which will take time.
Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., Andrea Franklin, says the quality and consistency of service must be improved at all levels. And she urges both the public and private sectors to leverage the power of partnerships.
We already know that service is a primary factor affecting the visitor experience, and so together we must work to raise the service standards through the provision of better training and development programs and cultivate a culture of excellence across the industry.
Customer service representatives in every sphere are encouraged to continue to be ambassadors for the island. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Barbadians in the diaspora can take advantage of discounted airfare to fly home for Regathering 2025. According to the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., Aer Lingus has announced a special offer aimed at the Barbadian diaspora, inviting them to return home for the special celebrations. A BTMI press release states that from December 13th to 23rd, 2024, travelers can enjoy a 25% discount on business and economy fares for flights from Manchester to Barbados. The promotion is perfectly timed to coincide with the upcoming festive season, celebrating Barbadian heritage, culture, and unity, designed to bring together families, friends, and communities from across the diaspora. With travel dates spanning from December 13th, 2024 to April 19th, 2025, and from May 1st to May 30th, 2025, the offer allows flexibility for those traveling to reconnect and experience the island's rich traditions. The tint meters required as part of enforcement of the coming ban for dark tints on motor vehicles are not yet in Barbados. This was revealed in a ministerial statement by Attorney General Dale Marshall. On September 19th, Prime Minister Mia Motley announced that dark tints on motor vehicles will be outlawed as a crime-fighting measure. Mr. Marshall provided an update on the acquisition of the meters needed.
The necessary legislation to amend the Road Traffic Act, as well as the required regulations, have all been prepared, and the amendment to the Act has been laid in Parliament. This ministerial statement is to indicate to the country that matters relating to the acquisition of the best available tint meters are well in hand, and these tint meters have been ordered and are in fact en route to Barbados. However, inasmuch as they are not yet on the island, and given the inevitable challenges that are associated with the Christmas season in terms of shipping and the like, it has been decided to defer further action on the legislation until the meters are in hand.
Mr. Marshall adds that the debate will be delayed until early January.
Well, the legislation will be enacted in January of 2025 and will come into force when enacted. The regulations will still provide for a grace period of 3 months for persons to come into compliance with the law. I remind the country that this measure will not be a prohibition on the use of tint. It only seeks to do what is globally a commonplace measure, that is, the restriction of the use of dark tints on motor vehicles. I take this opportunity to remind the drivers and owners of motor vehicles in Barbados that these measures are intended to protect the interests of all Barbadians, and we look forward to their fullest cooperation in the new year as we work together to make the work of the Barbados Police Service easier and more effective.
Fresh on the heels of a successful debt for climate swap, the government of Barbados has announced its intention to carry out a debt for social swap next year. Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, made the disclosure as he led off debate on a resolution on the Barbados fiscal framework for 2024 to 2028. Mr. Strawn says the medium-term strategy consists of 5 pillars, including debt stabilization and social inclusion.
So next year, 2025, we will be looking at constructing a debt for social swap, where we will be advancing more monies into education, into health, into citizen security, as well as housing, Madam Deputy Speaker, in order to make sure that we can touch the very things that matter for the ordinary Bajan and the things that will be critical for the strategic direction of this country. So we are going to be looking at further transactions within the debt space to create more fiscal space to do more for Barbadians next year.
Another pillar of the strategy is private sector export-led growth. Mr. Strawn says the intention is to unlock resources within the economy to allow ordinary citizens to export products and services. He wants Barbadians to invest in legitimate opportunities and avoid get-rich-quick schemes.
I'm urging Barbadians that, please, in 2025, let us put these schemes and scams and all of this thing behind us, and let us focus on tangible investment into business. Slow and steady wins the race, Madam Deputy Speaker. My grandmother told me that from time with the small. And therefore, we have to have the patience to be able to make the right investment decisions. And I'm saying to Barbadians, as the government is facilitating private sector-led export-led growth, that this is how you're going to take the money that you got in the bank or wherever your credit union or wherever you have it, and to make that money work for you.
Opposition leader Ralph Thorne has, however, taken issue with what he says is the granting of concessions to large hospitality businesses. He suggests concessions should also be available to small businesses in the sector.
You're giving concessions to a multimillionaire to renovate a villa that he has had for 10 years and has made profits in the millions of dollars. That if you're giving concessions to him, You can give concessions to a man who has a little rum shop in Dover. Or my Lord Sill, or Britain Sill. That's all I was saying. Why is this word concession some precious word that is reserved for the wealthy?
Standing on a point of order, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Sandra Husbands, however, took issue with the opposition leader's point. She said small businesses do in fact have access to concessions.
All businesses in this country know that through the Small Business Development Act, that they have concessions on their inputs, that this is what the government has done to enable them to be able to run their businesses and to be able to be exempt from the import duties, etc. And this helps them to be able to build their businesses. Now, unfortunately, the member is not aware of some of these things.
Coming up, a call for a ban on toy guns. A call is being made for a ban on the importation and sale of toy guns in Barbados. It's coming from the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados in response to the surge in violent crimes across the nation. Addressing a press conference this morning, the Congress argued that while seemingly harmless, toy guns can inadvertently contribute to the normalization and glorification of the gun culture among the youth. President Ryan Phillips, who outlined the recommendation among others, says exposure to these toys at a young age can influence impressionable minds, fostering attitudes that may later manifest in real-world support for gun-related activities.
By removing toy guns from our market, we can help to discourage the development of the culture that glamorizes violence, instead focusing on nurturing positive values, creativity, and non-violent conflict resolution skills within our country's children. This proactive step is essential to safeguarding the minds of our future generations and fostering a peaceful society.
And Setu Sab is also calling for strict monitoring and enforcement of the ban on the wearing of camouflage masks and other face coverings in public spaces. Mr. Phillips says the improper use of masks has become a growing concern as they're often exploited to conceal identities during the commission of crimes, thereby supporting criminal activities.
Effective enforcement of this ban is critical to enhancing public safety, deterring unlawful behavior, and supporting law enforcement in their efforts to maintain order. By addressing this particular issue, we can help to reduce the opportunities for criminal elements to operate under cover of concealment and create a safer environment for all citizens.
Setu Sab says it stands ready to collaborate with all stakeholders to tackle the issue of crime on the island and remains committed to doing its part for the betterment of the nation. Barbados and CARICOM have made some progress in efforts to address the region's crime problem. This is according to Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, David Commichon. The island hosted the second regional symposium on crime in Guyana last month. Ambassador Commichon says during the event, countries moved a step closer to implementing the CARICOM Arrest Warrant Treaty. That will allow member countries to arrest CARICOM nationals who are wanted in their home countries.
So the legislation has now been developed to put that in place. Last year, we said that we were very concerned about the firearms coming out of the United States. Mexico was suing the U.S. gun manufacturers for their irresponsibility, and several CARICOM countries took a decision that they were going to join Mexico's case. That happened, and perhaps as a result of that, we also said we were going to enhance the Regional Information Ballistics Network. That is the network across the region that does intelligence on illegal firearms, and we are now finally getting the cooperation of the American authorities.
Ambassador Comshaw says heads of government have also agreed to place greater focus on the link between mental health and crime.
There's going to be a lot more mental health interventions, a lot more interventions at the level of the school system. There's going to be a big focus on rehabilitating offenders. You know, we have this thing, people go to prison, they have a prison sentence, they come out, there's no support structure, nobody will employ them, nobody in the private sector will employ them because they have a prison record. Some of them end up back in crime. So there's a recognition that this is a problem, that we must have programs in place to reintegrate ex-convicts into society.
Barbados has recorded a reduction in fires so far this year, but there's been a slight increase in the number of blazes at private dwellings. This is according to Chief Fire Officer Errol Maynard. In his Christmas message, the fire chief notes the fire service has responded to 1,096 fires so far this year, down from 1,295 in 2023. The fires this year include 70 at private dwellings, up from 63 last year. Expressing concern about these in particular, Mr. Maynard is urging Barbadians to prioritize safety as the country celebrates the holidays. He says simple precautions such as checking smoke detectors to ensure they're working, practicing fire safety around decorations, avoiding the use of naked flame candles, and staying vigilant in the kitchen can help to ensure a joyous and safe holiday for all. Additionally, while live Christmas trees are becoming increasingly popular, the fire chief says they can be highly flammable, especially when they become dry. Despite a drastic reduction in the number of elderly patients being left at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, there are still almost 50 who no longer need medical assistance. This continues to have an adverse impact on the institution's ability to care for more patients. It's an issue CEO Neil Clark plans to address.
We do have to manage those patients within the beds, and that is 40 beds that I've not got available to the A&E department. And how we manage those, I plan to change in the future. Currently, those patients are spread across the beds in the hospital, and I plan to cohort them into one location so that they can be managed better by a social support team and discharge team who are looking after their care and progressing them being discharged. Not all of those would be able to go home. Some might need long-term care. But if we can manage those in one location and keep the acute beds available for the acute patients, that will be a good advantage for us.
You can see the full interview with QEH CEO Neil Clark talking about his vision for the healthcare facility directly after Newsnight on In the Know with Crystal Hoy. The Barbados Association of Journalists and Media Workers is appealing to those responsible for the affairs of the advocate to do right by current and former employees who are still due outstanding salaries. In a press release, Barjam's president, Ryan Broom, said to date no statement has been made about the advocate's present status or future, notwithstanding the company's involvement in larger court proceedings. The last time advocate workers received payment was March of this year. That payment was intended to cover half payment for April 2023, while the other half is still owed to workers.
Barjam is hopeful that whomever the proverbial buck currently stops at as it relates to ownership and management, that they will do their utmost to help end this ongoing nightmare for affected employees. Whether that is ultimately in the form of officially closing the chapter on Barbados' oldest newspaper with an appropriate settlement arrangement with current and past employees who are still owed, or an indication that the company will be resuming full operation at some future date, the reality is that the saga has been dragging on for far too long and begs for closure.
Time now to join Damien Bess in the Sports Center. Damien?
Yes, good evening to you, Wendy. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. We start with some cricket news. A brutal unbeaten half-century from captain Hayley Matthews steered the West Indies women to a crushing 9-wicket win against host India women in the second T20 today in Mumbai. Matthews scored an unbeaten 85 from 47 balls, inclusive of 17 fours, and also took 2 wickets to earn the Player of the Match award. Chasing 160, the Windies eased to 160 for 1 in 15.4 overs to level the three-match series at 1 apiece. Shemaine Campbell finished 29 not out, while Kiana Joseph scored 38. Now, earlier sent into bat, India posted 159 for 9 of their 20. Skipper Simitri Mandana led with 62 and Risha Ghosh 32. Matthews, Deandra Dottin, Chanel Henry and Afi Fletcher had 2 wickets apiece. Well, the third and final T20 is set for Thursday from 9:30 a.m. with live coverage on MCTV Sports Match Channel. West Indies men will take on Bangladesh in the second T20 International later tonight at Arnesville in St. Vincent. The Windies trail the three-match series 1-0, making tonight's game a must-win. Play begins at 8 p.m. Live coverage will be on MCTV's ESPN Channel 308 and also on radio station 94.7 FM. Well, meanwhile, the Windies will be hoping to take their recent one-day international success over Bangladesh into the new year after registering a series sweep. The Windies defeated Bangladesh 3-0 last week. That is the first half in sports. Wendy, it's back over to you.
Thank you so much, Damien. Up next on CBC's Newsnight, the Business Report. In tonight's Business Report, Nebula Music will be a global record label. The assertion from creator and music engineer Kareem Griffith. He discussed the origins and the roadmap for the initiative with Trevor Thorpe on tonight's Yes Business Report.
The creator says inspiration for the name Nebula Music came from how the stars are formed and the development of the Milky Way. He says it is more than just a name, it's a legacy in the making.
Currently working with a lot of underground artists. I have a few productions that I did personally myself, but apart from that, I was mainly focusing on the engineering, and most of those are songs done by various artists, which I have out on YouTube now.
He says there's more to making music than just turning on a system or listening to music. According to him, the challenges of day-to-day living also have an overarching effect on the final product.
Those things could really affect your creative process, putting it out there. So that's on a personal level, and then in the music business itself is tons of hurdles as far as financing, the marketing. It's really an engine. It takes money to make money, as I say. So.
The music engineer says the youth entrepreneurship scheme has been a major part of his success to date.
Yes, played a big part in my development in terms of understanding how a business really is supposed to function, and my whole misconceptions of running a business. And then even on the employee standpoint, because everybody can be an entrepreneur, but from an employee standpoint, it really helps you understand why businesses do certain things and, the functions that they have.
Mr. Griffith says his plan is to take Bajan music to the world.
All things even, Nebula Music definitely will be a global record label. Hoping to start in the Caribbean first, work with local producers, and definitely branch off into the world and be an ambassador for Barbados. So that's something that I definitely want to do, take Bajan culture to the world.
The young entrepreneur also has a vision for the industry.
I would like to see music and musicians more centralized in Barbados, because in my endeavors and my come up, it's been hard to get professional help. So that's something I want to do personally when I do sort myself out. Try to pave the way for other young musicians coming up, be it working with the NCF or working with other groups, that the youth, it could become easier doing music. It won't be such a fight.
The creator of the young enterprise admits that he still has a few hurdles to overcome and is looking forward to conversations with Export Barbados. Trevor Thorpe for the Yes Business Report.
The newly established Business Barbados has been given the thumbs up from a leading wines and spirit producer. Managing Director of the Foursquare Rum Distillery, Richard Seal, tells the Business Report it is a step in the right direction. He welcomes in particular the focus on intellectual property.
Intellectual property is something that has been neglected a bit. Even those who are simply registering trademarks have had frustrations. So the splitting of the business and the intellectual property is only a good thing. We look forward to it. Barbadists, like most West Indies, have been behind in protecting agricultural products. So, you know, there's intellectual property in your brand, but there's also intellectual property in your category. So
that's all for tonight's business report. We'll take a break and be back with the weather. We are again without our usual weather presenter, but I do have some information on the weather for you. A weak surface to low-level trough affected the leewards and northern windward islands, generating fair to occasionally cloudy skies with a few brief showers, mainly across the northern islands. Conditions were favorable and pockets of moderate to heavy showers were observed over open waters via the Barbados Meteorological Service's composite radar and satellite imagery. Meanwhile, surface to low-level confluence coupled with sufficient deep layer moisture and a marginally divergent upper-level atmosphere generated mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers across the extreme southern windwards. A few isolated thunderstorms were also observed offshore. Similar conditions affected mainly Tobago as well as Trinidad to a lesser extent. Barbados and the remainder of the island chain experienced mostly fair skies as a ridge pattern along a relatively dry atmosphere were present. Further south over the Guianas, a deep layer ridge was the dominant feature, as a moist surface to mid-level atmosphere remains over the region. Most areas experienced fair to partly cloudy skies, while others experienced cloudy to overcast skies with scattered showers and isolated afternoon thunderstorms, due in part to surface to low-level convergence and adequate low-level moisture. We'll take a break and come right back with the forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Now to the forecast, a ridge pattern will be the dominant feature. As a result, there will be a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers tonight. Tomorrow, it will be sunny with cloudy periods with the occasional brief scattered light showers. There will be a moderate easterly breeze from 10 to 35 kilometers per hour. The seas are moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. We'll take a break and return with sports.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
And we say welcome back to Damien Best.
Thanks so much, Wendy. Well, Greenhouse has repeated as track and field champions of the St. Albans Primary School. During the school's first sports day under the lights at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex, Green captured 392 points to reign supreme. Purple House were second with 247, Orange third 303, and Gold House fourth 297 points. CBC's Anne Margaret Boyce reports.
Ready or not, here they come. The students of St. Albans Primary took center stage at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex over the weekend ahead of the 2025 track and field season. Under 9 girls, 80-meter up first. The little ones leading the way, and in charge is Jada Edgel of Orange in lane 1. She has a glance back, but there's no one close enough to stop her. She wins in 15.99 seconds ahead of goals Araya Agard, 16.43, and Tilia St. Pierre of Green, 16.64. The under 9 boys 80-meter followed, and Orange were celebrating again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a must-see to the very end. Nakai Phillips has all the time in the world to hopscotch over the line. Impressive. 13.60 seconds was his time. Kamario Lewis of Purple was second with 14.56, and Kieri Nichols Chase of Gold third, 14.58. to the under-11 girls 100-meter now. And this was an open and shut case. Look at Shalona Nurse of Green ease into victory in 16.30. Royalty Goddard of Gold was second, 16.60. And Azaria Sobers third, 17.00. The boys' equivalent was up next, and this is where Greenhouse came to the party. Arms and legs pumping. Star performance from Kaylin Griffith to clock 15.14. Keon Burnham Hines of Orange was the runner-up in 15.94. And the Kobe Husbands of Purple third, 16.04. Under 13 girls now, and this was at the midway stage where Renee Burnham of Green was motoring down the track on the inside. No one will stop her. She wins in 14.65. Housemate Rakayla Haynes was second, 15.45, and Skylar Backles of Gold third, 16.00. The under 13 boys is where we bring the curtain down. This one was neck and neck right to the very end, and it's a 1-2 finish for Purple House. Laquan Scanterbury won in 13.69. Kevonte Hippolyte was second, 13.97, and Malachi Marshall third, 15.26. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
Yeah, thanks again, Anmar, and that's my time for sports this evening. Wendy, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Damien. We'll return after the break. And that's our news. Thanks for viewing and enjoy your evening.